Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President, Founder of Agile Dad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Today, in this week of 10s, I don't know if you noticed, but everything's 10 this week. I wanted to talk to you about the top 10 leadership strategies that'll help you build trust with remote teams. There's been a lot of remote things going on. I think part of it is we're starting to see people are getting vaccinated. The pandemic is starting to shift. Things are starting to change, especially here in the United States. We're seeing some shifts for our friends in other places where we're going to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, especially places like India where we're seeing dramatic upticks. We need to make certain we're doing all we can to help people achieve success, but also to build trust with those teams to let them know, hey, that we're here for them and that we're here for all of our teams, even if it's just remote here in the United States. So number one, right at the top of my list, is find ways to mitigate your team's stress. Now, I know what you're thinking. Remote, that's pretty hard, right? And the truth is, in organizations where people feel like they're comfortable and they're less stressed, they're naturally more productive. They collaborate better. They have more energy at work. Things just kind of work out. If you're in an environment where there's not a lot of trust, it makes stress, spike straight through the roof. So the quick tips to do this: stop micromanaging your team, right? Grant them some autonomy, let them work however, and get this, whenever they want. They are working from home at this point. We got to face that. And they have to do things to make their personal lives easier. Many of these people are juggling, spousal agreements and engagements. They're juggling homeschooling. Some people are even attending college. I mean, there's so many things that are happening. There's limited availability of actual computer resources and technology at certain points of the day. There's lots of things that we can do to help make people's life easier. So the first thing we can do is stop micromanaging the crap out of them, but do make it a point to communicate regularly. So it's just a quick check-in, a quick phone call, a weekly Zoom check-in, even a check-in through Slack is fine. I think it's just important that we can have the ability to reach out to people and find out if they're struggling with time management. We can often help them with that. It's, let's figure out so that they can understand what's most important so that they can have the guidance they need. And the last piece that's kind of fun is, even though they're remote, it doesn't mean they don't need time off. Encourage them to take time off. Don't let them work, burn both ends of the candle, right? Be respectful of their boundaries. And make sure that when they're off the clock, you're not bombarding them with a bunch of crap, right? There's a lot of real cool mindfulness apps that are out there. I don't know if you've ever seen Calm, C-A-L-M, but if you haven't, go check it out. It's absolutely fantastic. Number two, serve feedback in a feedback sandwich, right? Recognize something positive that's happening, build in some constructive feedback, and then close off with something positive. Because, when you're trying to help people grow, you want to make sure that you're recognizing some things that are happening that are positive at a team level. But you also want to make sure that these people understand that, if the world's not perfect, the world's not perfect, and we need to get things figured out. It's kicking things off and ending on a positive note that make that successful. Kind of an easy one. Number three, get to virtually know your team members. The cornerstone of fortifying any relationship is knowing the other person. It's just the way it is. So if you're meeting in person, it makes it a lot easier because you see these people every day. But sometimes having a quick chat over Zoom, some people are calling these coffee chats, or just, hey, what's going on? Having those water cooler chats like you normally would have at work, but setting it up in such a way that you're spending just a couple of minutes each week. It doesn't need to be anything, huge. Talk about hobbies, passions. How's your family doing? Things like that. It sounds so simple, but if you show that you genuinely care about someone as a person, it's going to help you interact and engage with them better as a virtual team member. Number four, make sure that you have clear goals, objectives, and intentions. Make sure they're crystal clear, right? This should be basic leadership, right? Every school of business should teach you this. But you want to make sure that you do this from the very onset of the remote engagement. Make sure that everyone understands what the goals, what the objectives are, what are the intentions, where are we going, why are these things urgent, and let the team understand that they're responsible for the how behind the what. Number five, be competent but also vulnerable. We need to place trust in leadership, but it also needs to be a demonstration of on-the-job expertise and ability, right? So there's a balance. You need to be competent in what you do, but not cocky. You need to have strong communication skills. You need to have certain leadership skills to be able to do this. And I think that the competence is there, but you also want to be open for suggestions and vulnerable and say, hey, I put on my pants just like you do, one leg at a time, right? And I think that it sounds interesting because you don't want to sound defeated, but vulnerability is a very powerful thing. I recently had one of my coaches who was trying to get in at a large financial institution. I'm not going to give names. And he was going in and he was going to do an almost full time, I guess, a semi permanent contract engagement with them, which I was totally all for. I thought that was a good idea. And at the end of the call, they told him that he was too vulnerable. And I thought that was interesting because I think vulnerability is a lost art. If someone can be vulnerable, but yet confident, it shows that they have what they need to successfully do the things that they can to engage, especially in a remote world. So I'm just throwing it out there. So vulnerability is an okay thing. Number 6, freshen up your ability to attend and facilitate virtual events and meetings. This is a powerful one, right? You know, I think that sometimes we kick off meetings and we forget to do simple things. A lot of times when we come back from our break in one of my training sessions, the first thing I'll do is ask for someone who won a duck race to give an acceptance speech or kick off with a joke, and people think it's funny, but it's just one of those ways that you can build trust and engage right away. Don't be afraid to host themed events, holiday parties, virtual lunches. Diwali is a good one that I think of, right? Festival of Colors. There's so many things you can do that are easy with remote teams that are going to help them be successful. Make sure you're conducting those check-ins every single week. Follow virtual meeting etiquette. How about this one? Mute your mic when you're not speaking. Sounds so common. How about this one? I'm going to blow your mind. Cameras on in a virtual meeting. Yes, we all know your home. We all know your home is not perfect. We all know your office isn't perfectly clean. We all know you're not dressed to the nines. We all know you're having a bad hair day or you have a wrinkle or skin blemish. It's totally fine, right? I think the key here is to shake things up occasionally, surprise the team. One of the things that I like to do too is I'll grab my laptop and take people on what I call a virtual field trip. Right. And I'll walk around with them and they think it's hysterical. I'll go out by my pool and go put my feet in the water. And they're just like, oh, holy cow. You need to do little things to surprise people. Sometimes I'll have a guest pop in. Bloop. Hey, look, it's Mike Cohn. It's just so fun when you can do stuff like that, right? So have guests pop in. I do that all the time on my LinkedIn and Facebook on the Agile Dad alumni pages. We have guests pop in all the time, and it's just absolutely fun. It's just a great way to get things going. And always remember to wrap up each function that you have on a high note, right? And ask positive questions like, let's make sure that everybody. What did you find the most valuable, right? And really drive those things home because I think that really helps. Command number 7 is be consistent, right? The 3 elements of trust are positive relationships, good judgment and expertise, and consistency. If you can do those 3 things, you got this nailed, right? So consistency is when you act as a role model and set a good example, when you walk the talk, when you honor commitments, you keep your promises. Those are all consistency. And I think that sometimes we forget about some of the things that consistency entails, and we don't do the things that are needed. And I think, I mentioned this one lightly here, but I want to make sure I dive in. Number 8 is go above and beyond personally when at all possible. If you know that there's something that the team really, really wants, go out of your way to make it happen. Go above and beyond. If you can do that and you can structure yourself that way, it shows the team that you're invested in them. And I think that's something, if you can show that you're personally invested in the work that they're doing and you're personally invested in their success, this is going to be easy for you. Then when they do achieve success, number 9, publicly recognize their success. You need to call out, what just happened? Did you see what just happened? And make a big deal of it. This makes people happy. And it really gets people in tune. It gets people excited. And it gets people where they need to be. And finally, number 10, it has to do with Scrum values. Use the force. There it is, right? You knew it was coming. You have to ask yourself, Am I focused? Am I focused on what the team's doing? Am I acting with openness, right? Am I being open and honest in all my communications? Am I being respectful to the team, to their wishes, to the times that they want to work, to the things that are happening? Uh, Commitment. Do I say what I do and do what I say, right? And then finally, extreme courage. Do I have courage? And it's not just courage to call out problems or to have critical conversations, but it's courage to try new things, courage to experiment, courage to congratulate, courage to call out things that are good, courage to explain why it's important for everyone to be on camera, right? I think if you're doing these things, all those elements will come together, and I can guarantee you that you'll have increased trust with your teams. Well, I hope you're having an amazing week. I know this was a lot of fun for me to record. If you have a topic you want to hear in the Agile Dad Daily Stand Up podcast, feel free to call out to us. We'd love to hear your ideas. Learn more at agiledad.com. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Sorry we went a little long. Until next time, do take care.